Austin Brekelmans, Corey Brekelmans, big year for Austin Brekelmans coming up. U16 AAA, it's a draft year. Lots of hockey in this family. Guys, I think we were just kind of talking just before the show started. And Corey, you got, three brothers. All three of you guys played hockey growing up. We got Austin's younger brother, Hammer. He's playing hockey for Huron Perth, right? Yep. So hockey everywhere at this table. I kind of just wanted to go over, this is very interesting. Austin's been a client of ours now for almost a year and a half, 2 years. And you know what? It's been great. Man, this guy comes to work every time. He's early all the time to the gym, Mace. Yeah. I love it. That's the attitude that these guys bring when they, work in business. Corey's with, he owns Bre-X Construction. So I know these guys are very busy guys. They're very organized. And you got mom on the other side over there doing, a lot of work for the kids, driving the kids everywhere. So I kind of wanted to highlight Austin, just kind of start off with you, buddy, and kind of just tell me where you started playing hockey, what age, and kind of how we've gone up through the system. Been AAA the whole time?
I AAA as soon as I could, yeah. I started at Park Hill, and what actually got me interested in hockey was the Zamboni. We would go to the rink and just watch the Zamboni drive around. That would
play hockey,
yeah. Oh, yeah, it had nothing to do with the ice. I just wanted to see the Zamboni.
Yeah, so I can piggyback on that a little bit. So we would go in Strathroy, that's where we lived. Strathroy had the Gemini, they had 2 rinks. And we went to public skating, and it only lasted I don't know how long. And we had the cheese cutters to start off with, Spiro.
The cheese cutters.
Yeah, we got out there, and he lasted a little bit. It wasn't, and then I was taking the stuff off, and you could see that the door of the Zamboni had gone on the other side. And I'm telling you, this guy, what's that? And I was okay. Well, as long as it keeps him here, whatever, it works. And we went over and watched the Zamboni, and then we would spend, how they go, the 50-minute increments. So then he would go from Zamboni to Zamboni, and then...
Just loved it, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever ridden a Zamboni, though?
No.
Not yet, Corey?
We always
We
always used to pretend in the basement. He'd push me around on, little dinky cars, and I'd wave to the crowd that's not there, just pretending I'm on a Zamboni.
So he would have been what,
Oh, he was 4, yeah. Yeah, and then at Western, where I used to play, they used to keep the old Zamboni in the corner, and I took him there once, and he sat there and played around with it. Oh, yeah, and we used to
love it.
And then the Zamboni song, "I Want to Drive the Zamboni."
Yeah, played that in the car before.
We had played it and sung it for years. That and the hockey song, we used to sing it every night before bed.
Well, that's a real art anyway. That I know using that Zamboni, I have no clue how it works. I know it cuts the ice and puts water down there, but there's some guys that butcher ice with that too at some point, right? Yeah. So you started playing what, Adam? Would you start around 5, 6, 7 years old, or was it?
Yeah, I think I started around 4 or 5 when I started touching the ice.
Yeah, it's and it used to be called pre-tyke. Yeah. And
that's young.
Yeah, it's young. Yeah.
Did he want to do it? Was he?
No, yeah, he was the one. So we would go to public skating, and then all of a sudden he saw a kid with and we had hockey in the basement. We were playing stuff like that, and then he wanted to start bringing. And I was one of the things I always wanted to make sure is that it was his interest, not
100%,
mine. And
100%.
and then kind of evolved from there. He went. We actually moved. We were in Strathroy where he started. Actually, that was your first one. Was pre-tyke did that. And it was every Saturday morning or whatever it was. And they had a great guy, a non-parent that kind of helped out. And then we moved. We moved from Strathroy out to the farm. And he had actually one of his best buddies, James McGregor, who's actually on his team right now. Has been on his team for. What,
James
10
McGregor?
years now. So he played soccer with James in the summer. And they're like, "What are you doing in this fall?" And he said, "Well, I'm playing hockey." "Where are you playing hockey?" And it was in North Middlesex. So Austin was like, "Can I play with James?" Sure.
And you guys are buddies, the dads and stuff like that?
No, we had no idea who each other was, but they connected on, I think their first soccer team was called Bumblebees. Yeah.
So did you like soccer too, Austin? Did he play growing up, the same time?
Yeah, I played just Sunday league for fun.
Yeah. I think most of the kids, a lot of guys play soccer around here. Toronto seems like it's lacrosse, soccer, hockey, right? But so you were playing all the way through until it got a little more serious, I would assume. And then it was like me too. I played soccer. My dad wanted me to do that. He was old school European. And then eventually I was once I got a taste of football, I was unfortunately, I was I'm going this way, right? So what? How old were you when you started playing AAA?
First year available that I was
Let
able
it
to.
go.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
is that?
Minor Adam.
Yeah,
Minor Adam. So he had moved to in his senior. So you have 2 years in novice. We did the first year in North Middlesex, and then we moved up to Strathroy.
Yeah.
So we had the right of choice. So we were able to move to the Strathroy Junior Rockets. So it had great coaching staff and stuff like that. So we was able to do that. And he actually went from forward in his minor novice year, and then I asked him if he wanted to play defense, and he played defense. So his last year of novice before he played AAA, he was a defenseman.
Do you find that helped his game though? Like, I know it's young to say that, but did he play D for a couple of years and then go up, or
No, he had played forward all along, and I mean in novice there's positions are a little loose.
Yeah.
I think that
It's
even
more
hockey
bumblebee
nowadays,
hockey.
I think you line up, but it's a 5-man game.
Yeah.
But I asked him if he would play. I never asked him. I said, "Hey, would you want to play forward or defense?" And he had done very well as a forward in Park Hill. And I think it gives him a different perspective of the game.
100%,
And I wanted him to make sure that he had, and I think I've done this as much as I could, is say, listen, there's all kinds of options. And,
Yep.
and
Except for
I
goaltender.
had exactly. I had an idea of what Austin's strengths are developing and stuff like that. And I look at my own career, and I can only play one position. I could never play forward. I
You tried ever? You tried?
Never. No, I could play left or right defense. There was never an option for me. Where the player like Austin, I was like, okay, we'll expand, And
Try
I think,
it out.
Try it out. And I encouraged him. And I think once he got a few months deep into the season, he would have loved to have played center for the rest of it. And after Christmas, they moved him up to center there. But
When did you start noticing like him starting to pick his game up? Like, when did you start? At what age did you say, okay, this guy's pretty good? Like, he's coming along well.
Yeah, I think it always was like Austin.
Right from the beginning.
Austin's always had the advantage of drive. He's been very driven since a young age to compete.
100%. I
And
see that in the gym.
Yeah, like the workout, the effort you're talking about, the gym, that was evident very early. And once he got a taste of winning, he never looked back.
No.
And so I knew it, but there was certain steps. I mean, it was when it was easy and fun and everything like that. And then you want to kind of see how he kind of grew into, okay, now there's a little bit of a grind and there's a little bit of this, and you got to play your position and stuff like that. And I would say the Adam years give him a broad spectrum in AAA of, okay, maybe you're the best back in your local rink, but now it's a little bit bigger pond.
Bigger pond now, yeah.
Yeah, and I would say his major Adam year, like minor Adam was a lot of ups and downs and stuff like that, but his major Adam year, by the tail end of that season, he had started to take a little bit of a not a step, but a bigger, showed some ability.
Yeah, to have the mind for the game.
Yeah, and some of the stuff you saw, like some of the little things were developing, which I thought, and goals were going in and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know what? But you never know. There's a long road between. You don't get drafted.
100%.
You don't get drafted to minor Adam. So I
Mason,
encourage Austin to do everything. Now, what you do in practice shows up in games, and the little things, and those are the things that he started to really grasp onto.
Yeah. And Mason coaches in that level, and he sees it. And I've seen Austin play a few times. You more than me.
I coach again, so, yeah.
But you know what he brings to the table when he comes and plays.
Oh, for sure.
Right? You know he's on the ice.
Every shift he's...
Don't keep your head
You
down.
can see it. Don't keep your head down.
But it's clean. He
Yeah.
doesn't play a dirty game, right? He'll play physical.
Yeah.
But, what do you see out there, Mace, when Austin plays? Like,
Well, I mean, I'm always thinking about what I need to do against
To
them.
stop
them. But for sure, like, definitely the physicality part for you is a big part of your game, and makes you stand out, right? Creates space. Guys don't want to come near you when you have the puck. So that's like number one, keep that up, and I mean, you'll go a long way. But your skill, your shot is just,
he's got a good
you
shot.
got a pro level shot already. So you work on that, I'm sure, quite often.
I found positionally he's very in the right
Yeah.
spots at the
Yeah.
right time, and it seems like you got a good grasp of the game. And Corey, would you say, like, I mean, you're a hockey player. You played in the OHL. Corey played in the 99 to 01 season. I think he played with one of my old customers too. It was Mike Van Ryan.
Oh, Van Ryan,
Same time. But did Austin pick it up easy, like in the intelligence end of it? Did you have to help him a little bit? Were you like, are you always kind of giving him some pointers, and how does that work between the two of you guys?
Yeah, I've always tried to make my relationship with Austin and hockey more of a father-son thing, and it's been difficult as a parent because you want your best for your kid, and you see as a hockey player, you see the ups and downs that are coming, and and you want to, I think as a father, you want to protect from that.
100%.
But at the same token, as a hockey player, you got to live through them.
Yes.
And I think that's something that Austin's done extremely well, is he'd faced adversity, faced challenges, and he's chosen to push through them.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say to them, I never told you it was going to be easy. I told you it would be worth it.
Right.
And those little tidbits, I hope, has helped him throughout his career. But
I think they have,
I think it's a
from
big
what I've
testament to Austin is he's chosen a path. He's worked hard, and he works, like, as far as comparison from my hockey career to his, like, I never worked even close to how hard Austin
But also
was.
at the same time, back then it was kind of a little bit different. Like, I think training was just kind of coming in.
Yeah.
Where now, like, you guys are like you're watching kids at the rink at like Major Pee Wee doing like workouts at the rink or whatever it may be. But what do you guys spend time on? Like, forget about the training aspect. We'll come back to that after. To work on your hockey sense, like, what has helped you in that aspect?
Just watching the NHL.
So you watch video, you watch games.
Yeah, I just enjoy watching hockey. I get to see patterns and stuff like that. I'll just pick out a player to watch and see how he plays and find a style that fits
Who do you like, Austin? Who do you kind of want to model your game after?
Jamie Benn.
Jamie Benn, he's awesome. Right?
player.
Tough too,
Yeah.
very tough. Had some good tilts with Thornton. I watched him online a few times there in the past. But so you watch like hockey once a week, twice a week? Are you always on your phone, kind of watching videos? And
Yeah, I mean, I'm always watching videos of something. I mean, if it's hockey or not, but I try to watch the NHL probably once a week.
yeah, and I used to do that with Mace too when he was younger. But I didn't know. I know hockey. I've been around long. I don't know at your dad's level, but. I would always show him the highlights of, power plays or clips. But I think going back sometimes I would like question myself and go, maybe we need to watch more of it, because when you watch those, like just those clips that they score the goals on, everything's perfect. It just happened at that point. But then there's the other part of the game, Corey, where where it doesn't always happen like that, right? Something doesn't work in a breakout, or a stretch pass doesn't work out, or somebody loses a puck, no back check. Do you watch with him, or does he kind of do his own thing?
No, he's done his own thing, to be honest with you, and that's one thing I haven't had to push. I mean, I always told Austin, I'm never going to drive you to the rink. You're going to drive me.
Yeah.
And
Smart.
yeah, and I think that's kept our relationship fairly, father-son.
Right.
To be honest with you, is I've always told him, your hockey career is whatever you want to make of it. There's certain things as a father that I'm going to make sure are instilled in you. The
100%.
same thing my dad did. But as far as when it comes to hockey sense and stuff like that in my own career, like I can give him guidance, I can kind of stuff like that. But the only thing I've really talked to Austin about and guided him through is make sure you're enjoying what you're doing. If you're enjoying what you do, you'll keep watching. I don't tell Austin to watch hockey. None of those things come up with me.
Yeah, you
I
shouldn't have to
encourage
if you
him, and
wanna
I
be a
say,
player, yeah.
he asks me a question and say, hey, listen, I want to work on this. Okay, well then find some people around you. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned through my own hockey career was the community around me was so supportive. And I've encouraged Austin to make sure he gets people like yourself and, like look at his coaching staff right now. You got Trevor Gallant, who's an incredible resource, 100%. Craig Smith, Jason Smith, down to the manager, Val, and the trainer, Nate. Like, there's an incredible group there. And obviously the kids have responded. They've done really well.
Yeah, they've got a good group there.
Yeah, but as far as with Austin and, coaching and stuff like that, I've really kind of got him to focus on his coaches and live in the moment, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I got an opportunity to coach Austin in spring hockey, not so much throughout the seasons, to be honest with you. I was able to enjoy the spring hockey and stuff like that, and hopefully add a little bit of flavor. Spring hockey is a little more flow.
You get
and
more
stuff
creative with stuff to say, try this, right? It's not like it's like you're in a situation where the team has a system and you're going like this. I know they still want to win when they go because they're competitive. But I would assume that's where you let them kind of run and kind of learn.
Yeah, and I think you got to have that as you got to develop that as yourself. I never wanted to pigeonhole Austin into anything.
No.
I knew what type of player I was, but it took me a while to figure it out. I mean, you find out yourself, and I think that flexibility, and you got a system, and but you still got to play. It's not work hockey; it's play hockey. And for him, hopefully he sees that I've allowed him to kind of grow his own roots and spread his own.
I think so. He respects that. I like I said, I watch Austin come into the gym. I'd say most of our guys are serious that come in the door, but you can tell when a guy comes in, he's dialed in, like, he's warming up.
Consistent.
I've never seen him come at the time he's supposed to come at. He comes 15 minutes before, and, sometimes guys, I get it, traffic's bad or this and that, but at the end of the day, you have to want it. And I think, Austin, that's your goal, is to play at the highest level you can play at. And I know last year you had a great experience at BK Hockey, and I don't know a lot about. I know I've heard about BK, and I know that they got a great organization, but I don't follow prep that much just because I'm around here. Maybe you want to just kind of give us a little bit of insight about how that went for you. You guys won the national championship.
Yeah.
That's massive. Austin's got a ring on his finger for that.
Full name of the school is Bishop.
Yeah.
Kearney.
Bishop Kearney.
Yeah, Bishop Kearney's the school, and then the program's Bishop Kearney Selects.
What'd you think of that?
Good. It was a great experience being a student athlete like that, and just being around your teammates that much. It's a great experience, and I mean,
I get like little video messages of him, like they'd be in the in that hallway or the room there, 3 or 4 guys staying with you in one dorm, or is it 2? Was it 2?
Yeah, you had the option of 2 people in a dorm or 4 people. I was thrown into the 4
the
with
4 men.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a lot sometimes.
Yeah.
That can be a lot.
But I saw, just like, he'd be bored one night, he'd be there watching television or a game, and he'd send a little small clip on his snap or whatever, and I'd be like, right on. But you learned how to be, a young man. You got to do your laundry.
Yeah.
Nobody does it for you.
No, I mean, I learned a lot about myself and just
100%.
how, to get ready for even school, like a test or something, getting ready for that. Like that was just...
Like
I
nobody
learned a
there
lot
to
about
kind of put,
myself.
back home, sometimes, Mason would be like, hey, you got to do your homework, got to do this. That wasn't there. You had to do that yourself.
Yeah, that was all up to me, yeah.
And so
I had my teammates to lean on if I needed something, but it was mostly me.
Give me a typical day. You guys get up in the morning, what time?
Yeah, we'd get up 7:30. I mean, school, you had to be downstairs at school by 8. And then you went for... Each day was different. There was an A-day and B-day. A-day, we would be off by 12:20. We'd have 2 classes in the morning, lunch, class, and then we'd go off to the rink.
But, so skate 4 or 5 times a week you're on the ice?
Yeah, every day on except Monday. Monday was our only day off.
So that was your day off.
Yeah.
But every day, and then you got games on the weekends. Is that how they do it down there? Is it tournaments every weekend? How does that?
Yeah, there
prep
was
thing work?
showcases, tournaments. There wasn't a set league. We'd travel to Pittsburgh, Connecticut, and before I got there, they flew to Minnesota before.
Really?
There's no leagues
It's
at all.
all about showing the players off to as many people.
Yeah, their league. They had they have this New England Pack. Bishop Kearney's part of it.
Is that the loop they're in?
There's 5 or 6 teams that go into this New England Pack. So Mount St. Charles Pens, Elite. Who else is there? The New Jersey Rockets, Long Island Gulls. There's a few teams, and what they do is they travel. So each team hosts for a certain weekend. So they have 5 or 6 weekends, and they would host, and then you would play basically the whole gamut, kind of like a showcase.
So the Long Island Gulls, I'm going to just kind of cut in there because when I was in New York working for the Islanders, I had a contract to do their organization. So Fred Schoenhut owns that organization. Are they prep too now? They have a prep?
So what? They're just a program.
They're a program,
I don't
okay.
believe they're associated
But
with this.
they would
No.
play against
They would play against him. So the 2 schools in his loop, the New England Pack, was the Mount St. Charles and the Bishop Kearney Selects. Was there another school?
No,
I think
we were the
that's
only
it.
2 academies.
But then what happens is they get to pick their schedule. So they would fly, like he said, fly to Minnesota to play Shattuck. They would fly to, let's say, their U16 would play Culver or Gilmore Academy, or their U18s just played St. Andrews.
So do they have here you guys play 32 or 33 games minor midget. Those games are the same amount? Is it 30 games over there? Or are you playing tournaments the same way we do over here, the same way we do
Similar,
AAA?
they would play. So their New England Pack would give them let's say a base work of how many games they play. Then they do tournaments to us on top of that. But then each state has qualifying games. So to qualify for the New York State Championship, they had to do qualifying games throughout the year. You have to play the Buffalo Junior Simbers, the Rocco Coalition, the Buffalo Regals.
you get
That was
ranked,
New York
right?
State. Yeah. So you get ranked nationally. That's my hockey rankings. But then you had to qualify. So you had to have so many wins to chalk up to get into New York State Championships. So he didn't get a whole lot of the qualifying games. I think they were done early there. But then you go to state championship, and then if you're successful in your state, then you qualify for nationals.
For nationals.
Similar to right here. You do the alliance, and then in your OHF you were qualified for the Ontario.
So for example, I guess what I was trying to get at was in your division, you guys have London, Elgin, Chatham, whoever's in that. Is it the same way over there? Do they have okay, these guys have won 10 games, the team below's won 8, the team below's won 2.
Yeah, I would say it doesn't work quite like that. We're
No, it
more
doesn't.
focused on the national rankings.
Okay.
To be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, so when it comes to the national seeding and it comes to the state tournaments, and if you're not successful in state but you still have a good national ranking, you can apply to get into the matrix to get into the nationals. So the U15 team lost to the Long Island Gulls in the state championship, but because of their seeding and because of the national ranking, they were able to fit into it. So there's I don't want to call it wild cards. There's a bit of I'm not an expert on it by any stretch of the imaginations, but it was a different system where we have a league and then we challenge ourselves in tournaments and stuff like that. And then theirs is they are part of like a New England pack, which is kind of like their league, I would get per se. And yeah, they would have rankings amongst each other and stuff like that. But then you have to qualify for state and then nationals.
So how were you guys like? Were you guys strong all the way through from when you got there?
Yeah, we were pretty consistent. Through the year, I think we stuck around 8th.
Okay, so you were 8th. So that's huge to go from 8th and winning the whole thing. Wow.
Yeah, when they went to the national tournament, they were seeded 8th. Yeah.
Really?
They had won their state championship, which was, I think you were the only BK team to do that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you find the difference in the style of hockey, Austin? Like you played over here, you played over there. What's the difference?
The physicality is definitely a big difference. They get rid of the 3-second rule after you touch the puck. You have to hit the guy with the puck.
Really? Okay.
That's
right away.
USA, yeah.
So we're over here. If you want to finish a check, like it could be
Yeah.
a second or two right after.
A little
you
less
finish it.
physical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's skill, very skilled.
Yeah, more skillful, I'd say. More like little passes, little like dipsy doodles, things like that.
It's probably
which,
helped you in a way
yeah.
too as well, right?
Which you don't necessarily see as much here. It's more there.
Yeah, and he adapted really well to it. Actually, I think Austin, you were, I think one of the guys that were. You were kind of like at the end there. You were scoring lots of points in the playoffs, and near the end, it was at the final game. You were contributing to that. Did you have like a game-winning goal? Was it the semifinal game? I think you were telling me.
Yeah, I scored in the semifinal game against Boston Junior Eagles. That put us up 3-1.
3-1, and then you guys went on. Then there was the final game. And you guys played who? Who was in the final?
Final
national
game was
championship
Chicago
game?
Mission.
And what was the score in that game?
2-1.
Tight game.
Yeah.
They're always.
Bet you were on your seat there, eh, Breck, too.
Nationals was an incredible journey, and it's one game a day. And so you go down. It was in Plymouth, Michigan, at the USA Hockey Arena, where the NTT program is there. And you fly in. His coach played with a guy, Brandon Maranko, I believe, who was the coach of the University of Michigan. So they actually play at Yost. They practice at Yost Arena, and then they get seated in their dorms. And like when you're a program at BK, like I hear you if I go to a tournament next weekend in Silver Stick, Austin stays with me.
Right.
There, they stay with their team.
They
so
stay. You don't see.
you get your own hotel room. You get everything. You don't touch the travel. Anything. It's just like a junior program. And so then the Nationals, you seeded one game, and then the next game is one game a day. So it keeps the level of hockey high. But there were some massive programs there.
Huge.
Like he played Shattuck on the Saturday morning. That was an incredible.
You guys
battle.
beat them?
We beat them.
Wow.
Yeah.
They got a good program.
Yeah.
We all know. I think Sidney Crosby's been there.
Oh yeah, like they've got
Brad Richards, you name it,
a
right?
laundry list of players, and they've got some remarkable players there right now. To be honest with you, Shattuck's pretty, I would say, historic.
And do they get into the OHL Cup now too? Like, is that?
Yeah, so BK the last couple of years has had the opportunity or been invited to the OHL Cup. The only, I think the knock, I wouldn't say this is what based their decision on it, but going to the OHL Cup is, I think, right in between the national tournament or right at the national tournament or something like that.
Right before states.
Right before
it's
states.
The weekend before states. So
yeah, so
you don't see much.
So how do they put that? How does that work? Like,
I don't know how it gets. I'm assuming the OHL is looking for obviously
the
high
elite
caliber
guys,
teams,
right?
and there's players, and it's good exposure for BK and stuff like that. But I don't exactly know, to be honest.
Were they in it last year, Mace?
Who?
BK?
No, they haven't. They haven't taken the opportunity to go. But I mean, you see, like the TPH, I think has put a team in. I think I've seen some teams. Like I'm not an expert on it, to be honest.
No, I know it's a lot different format than this.
Yeah,
over here,
it is, to be honest.
And it sounds like you've got some education on it, but there's still like a lot of stuff that you don't.
Yeah, like the only reason the U.S. program is just because we just lived it. Last season. So you do states and then you qualify for nationals. Yeah, I mean, Austin was the leading scorer in the New York State tournament.
Yeah, you did. That's right. I remember that. Yeah, that's huge, man, for you. So you got, like, publicity-wise, I think it's great. So they got USHL teams scouting over there, I would assume.
Yep.
There's, like, You mentioned earlier something about U14, U15. I thought it was U15. It wasn't.
Yeah, so there's numbers are different. So so this year, for example, he's U16 with the Alliance and in Ontario,
Right.
but in the States, the same age category is U15.
U15.
Yeah,
And you guys are all playing, everybody's the same age, and you don't play.
Yeah.
Right, so it's the same thing all the way
just
through.
a number thing.
Yeah. You ever play any of those teams over there, Mace, when you guys were younger or no? Tournaments? Did they go into like?
No, we didn't.
No.
When I played there, I didn't even think BK might have been a team at that
It
time.
wouldn't
They
have
might
been,
no.
They would have had
Little
a guys,
Caesars,
yeah.
CompuWare, Honey Baked,
Bell Tire,
Chicago
like
Mission.
all those. Mission was always good.
Yeah, Boston,
I used to play
Junior
spring hockey
Bruins.
with a bunch of Mission guys. So
Oh, yeah.
but they were good.
And also, when you were in BK on a daily basis, do you cook your own food? Do you guys have a car? Do you go to the cafeteria? Like, how big is this place? What's it like over there?
Yeah, for food, our breakfast was always taken care of by chefs in the morning. But then lunch, we were always in the cafeteria for the school. We would have like a number we'd say, and it'd go right to the program.
Right
Like
to
that's
the program,
how it got. Yeah.
right? And then you guys have any free time? Like, is there anything around there? Are you guys in the middle of nowhere? Because I know some programs, like, for example, I have some guys that play up in Rabun Gap, like in Georgia for football, and they're like in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
They have to drive a bus like an hour and a half to
Really?
get into town, and their fun is going to like Walmart or like there's not much in town there, right? Is it the same over there?
Yeah, we were pretty close to stuff. Like there was like a certain walking distance we couldn't go out of, but within that distance we had like a Starbucks or Chipotle. There's a Target we always spent time at, just goofing around.
And you guys bus to all these games. They have a team bus that goes.
Like for practice, we'd always do 2 vans. That's how we got there.
That's how they
but then-
picked everybody up in the morning.
Yeah,
You guys-
but then if we went to like Connecticut or Pittsburgh, we'd have a bus.
Bus, right? And you mentioned something about they did fly before you got there. They flew somewhere.
Yeah,
too?
they flew to Minnesota.
So they would do maybe one of those a year, 2 of those a year,
Yeah.
like a flight.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's a big operation.
Yeah, like the two brothers that started it, Chris Collins and Greg Collins. Austin played some spring hockey with them, and that's how kind of we got connected. And they've done an incredible job over 4 years. They've had some, 2 national championships and a lot of success. And,
Yeah, they built the name up big
yeah,
time.
and they've got some good people there. Like every hockey program, like Elgin and like London, there's a lot of good people that surround BK. And you got Chris and Greg Collins. You got Ben McNamara, who hopped on the bench for their national tournament and was a big part of it. And yeah, they've had some great
Another
success.
McNamara, those guys are all over the place.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We call them BMAC, didn't you?
Jeez.
Yeah. But I mean, their hockey. You asked about the style of it. It's very skilled. It's very high paced and stuff like that. But I would still say, like, they're playing teams like the Marlboros and stuff like that, and we're still taking advantage of that. To be honest with you, and the high end teams in the Alliance and in GTHL and stuff like that still compete, and I would still say have the upper hand on some of their
100%,
programs. And it's a style of game. Like, it's a different style. I think to compare them would be challenging, but the physicality you see in the Canadian game and the willingness to do what it takes to win and stuff like that, that's inherent in our roots.
Yeah.
And you definitely notice it when you come to the higher end programs.
No question. I mean, I'm still, obviously we're Canadian. We're proud to see our programs be a flourish over the years. The Americans have gotten a lot better. It's right there, right? Obviously, we deal with in the national stage, the Russians. They've always been up there too. But I mean, there's just something about it's their football, which is like our hockey here.
Yeah.
I think they just have lived and breathed it
Yeah.
from the beginning. But eventually, everybody's always said it. The Americans are coming for us, right? They're catching.
Yeah.
They might not like hearing this all the time, but they might think they're better at this point. But I think there's times when teams are better and other Canadian teams are worse. But I think at the same time, like the level of hockey everywhere, the training, the skill stuff that you're getting now, the analytics, all these things have brought the game to another level. You didn't have that when you played.
No, we didn't have
Right?
it. Well, we had some of it.
had Mark
I
Hunter.
still remember Mark Hunter doing our video with the VCR.
VCR?
And we
Oh
were
my
riding the
God.
bike. Yeah. So things have definitely
But you learned a lot
advanced.
from a guy like Mark Hunter.
Oh yeah,
for
I mean,
sure.
he's well, everything he touches turns to gold, to be honest with
yeah.
you. And Mark was very influential in my career, for sure. And I learned a lot of Mark. I learned a lot from Mark. I actually bumped into the arena there in Leamington down in the showcase there. And it was nice. Yeah, it's nice to talk, being a coach-player relationship. And now we're in similar interests. We do a little bit of farming, and obviously he's a businessman at the same time. So it's been great to, connect with these guys and talk a little bit about the future, or not the past, but a little bit of the guys that we touched when we played. There's guys like Mike Van Ryn, you talk about, who's in Toronto, and then the guy, one of my defense partners in Strathroy and in Sarnia is Dan Watson, who's now the head coach of the Grand Rapids. So you get that kind of, you kind of banter about that a little bit, and then of course you talk about hockey and the London Knights and stuff like that, and the prowess and the legacy he's created there, and it was a great experience to play for a guy like Mark Hunter. Yeah.
Big footsteps, Austin. I mean, I watched your dad playing because I used to train guys that he played with back then, and I remember your dad playing, and before I even met you, but I remember the Brekelmans' name, and like I mentioned, your dad was a physical guy, big dude. Looks like he's been pumping a little bit in iron too. There, he's gotten a lot bigger since the last time I seen him, but that's good. What round, Corey? Did you were a first, second round OHL pick?
Yeah, I was rated fairly high in the draft, but I was selected in the 4th round.
Yeah,
somewhere around the 100 overall. I don't know exactly.
Still awesome. 4th round is
amazing.
Yeah,
I got drafted in the 4th round.
Did you make it your first year?
Yeah, actually, I was fortunate enough to play. I played all 68 games in my first year. I actually got Rookie of the Year for the Sarnia Sting.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So that was great. Actually, Austin got a chance to tour Sarnia there a couple weeks back, and I got to take a picture of him beside my trophy of Rookie of the Year. So I didn't believe me, but
So first year Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year was Sarnia, yep. And then the second year, that year we had made a bid for the Memorial Cup. You had to have so many wins and stuff like that. So he had brought in players like Peter Sarno and Ivan Nosov-Selsa was there. They had some quality hockey players.
I think Sarno does like the Vaughan Kings or something.
He did for a period of time there, yeah. And then the second year, Hunts, he moved on. He can't remember, he went right after. We had to change into the guard there, and then came back for my 3rd year. In my 3rd year, I got it to the deadline. Sudbury Wolves. I moved up there with a bunch of kids from London, actually. A guy by the name of Jan Janseski and Chris Kelly. So we, those two and ourselves, went up to Sudbury for a playoff run. We got to play with, the Derek McKenzie's, Jason Jaspers, Alexei Semenov. Mike Smith was our goalie.
Mike Smith.
That was for Semenov,
yeah,
Alexei Semenov. Yeah, you said that, yeah. Got to play for a guy, Bert Templeton.
Bert Templeton.
Bert was... He was
hard-nosed guy.
Hard.
Yeah,
And I had some experience with Hunts. Hunts was, he challenged you.
Yeah, he did.
And so did Brett.
I think that, you know what, that's interesting to say that, because I worked for Mark and Dale, and they challenge everybody.
Yep.
And as much as it sounds like sometimes it might be a bit harsh, you have to, I think at this level, you have to kind of go with that, because that's what it's like when you're getting paid at that level, that kind of money, let's say the NHL, or to make it there. There's going to be challenges. And I think the biggest thing is, obviously, these days, the kids are different than when we played. We played football, you played hockey. Those guys, the real hard-nosed guys, were on you. They were relentless at times. But I think Mark knows how to kind of taper that off and pump you up and motivate you a bit too.
Well, just keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
If you become comfortable, you start to fail. Right?
Yeah.
If you're always being challenged and
if you accept that challenge, you got to take that challenge.
If you're being challenged in life and you accept it, you're going to grow as a person, right? So.
But for sure, I know the coaching from those days to now have changed a lot too, and I think even those guys who are been around, they've changed. They've kind of like evolved and said, hey, this is a different group of guys. We got cell phones now. We got social media. We have this and that. And it's like you have to adapt regardless. Player, coach, GM, I think you got to be able to do those things.
Yeah, and I think I would sediment the same thing. Mark challenged every player he's ever probably coached and stuff like that. And the people who respond, have done extremely well. And I think it's Mark shows how he cares, much like a lot of the influential people in my life, like my parents and stuff like that. They challenge you, and and that's only because they care.
A lot of support from you guys, your family. You mentioned all your brothers played. One that played at Clarkson.
Yep.
Was D1. How did he do there? Was he good player?
Yeah,
there?
Christopher had a remarkable career in Clarkson, actually. The team was successful. He was actually a captain in his final year.
Yeah.
I only talked to him about school twice the day he got there, and when he got his degree, I asked him what he got. But but no, Chris had a tremendous career. He had some injuries with his knees and stuff like that kind of, I think, helped him from playing pro, to be honest with you. But no, he had a remarkable career.
What years was he over there?
He would have been from 02 to 06.
06.
Yeah.
And at that time at 02, you were playing for the Western Mustangs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah,
And
I never got a chance to play Chris. I actually got diagnosed with Crohn's disease in my first year of university in 2002. December 18th, 2001, I got diagnosed. And it changed the path for my career. It was difficult to keep in the game.
We share the same, your dad and I share the same, disease, I guess, right? And you had it in remission for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's debilitating. I know Shane Corson's had it. There's been other players in the past. And, I'm sure that affected you when you first got it. And I want to, if you don't mind, I want to kind of touch on it a little bit. What was that like, man? Like, what was that like playing? Because I know what you feel like. You're drained, no energy. You're, going to the bathroom all the time. You're flushing electrolytes out of your body. Mm-hmm. How did you continue to play like that?
And it was will, I would say. I was playing with Western at the time when we were undefeated. We ended up the season 22-0-2. Like, this was something I had been a part of championship teams in Strathmore. We won the league and stuff like that, and you kind of get that spidey sense that something's about to happen. And we had a unique group, leadership, and the university were behind us, and it was an incredible situation. And I got diagnosed and got in hospital, and it put a lot of things into perspective, Spiro. From changing of what am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do 3 years from now? You focus on today, and you have good days and bad days, and I'm sure you do too. And 100%. That life perspective that happened when I got diagnosed with Crohn's changed my view on so many things.
Everything, because I know we've talked about this. You're diligent with your diet. You don't veer too far from what works for you to keep that thing in remission. Because I know at any time those kind of things can come back, right? Yeah,
and I think that's some of the stuff that you've tried to push on to Austin is live in the moment. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow's tomorrow, but what you can do today is all you can do today. 100%. And today's going to be a great day. And those type of, that was probably one of the hardest life lessons I've had to learn. You'd be, for example, one day you're fine, everything's going. The next day I was in the hospital for 2 weeks.
You don't feel good.
You don't feel good, and then when you get there, you're getting better and stuff like that. And then you see people come in with cancer and real significant health challenges, and puts perspective. Like okay, I can still walk, I can still do stuff and stuff like that. But it really puts a perspective on what's valuable in life, and family and health and stuff like that. That's number one. That was number one, and I would say I focused on hockey, and that was something I identified with. Much like Austin, you identify as a hockey player, and then you kind of get there. But once that happened, that really changed my entire focus. I was more focused about what today is. What are we going to do today? And it helped me. It's helped me through a lot of things, and hopefully, it's helped me be a better father. For sure. Yeah. I know Austin respects you big time because he looks up to you. I mean, I know he does his own thing. I know he's himself, but I also know he has a lot of respect. He sees, me and Mace always chat about it. All of our guys are trying to stay on top of things. Like, this guy's so organized. Oh, yeah. He's thinking ahead. Yeah. I see kind of that in him, too. He's young still, right? So it's coming. But I see that, and it's like, as a dad, that's all I care about is that my kid, and I think you're the same way, whether they become pros or they become businessmen or whatever they do, you just want them to put a full effort into what you're doing. Yeah. And respect people and have good integrity and stuff like that. And, those are the things that the outside of the hockey world will see. The guys who know, it's not just about, hey, can I put the puck in the net? They want guys who can be a good teammate, guys who are going to be like, hey, you're down in the dumps right now. I'm going to pick my buddy up, my teammate up, and make him a better person, a better player. And those are the things that I think that we're all looking for as dads, right? No, 100%. So we've both been kind of in the same method. And I know he'd be behind you all the way to the, to the end, right? Mm-hmm. So next up, you getting a little anxious for the big tournament coming up. I think now 20% of the season's probably done, I think, right? Right? There, yeah. And this Whitby is going to be kind of a big mark. This is kind of where they're starting to watch guys and
the Silver Stick International Tournament is coming up here.
Yeah. You guys how's your schedule there, Austin? You guys playing some tough teams? Do you know it?
Yeah, we pulled who do we got? We got Cambridge, Markham,
No, Marlboroughs.
Marlborough.
Oh, they played the Marlboros. Okay.
Yeah. Who else?
Buffalo Senior Sabres.
And they'll be good with all those teams?
Yeah, I would say those programs are all
Yeah.
pretty
Now, I didn't even know this. You have to be invited into this.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to.
You apply and then you get an invitation. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know some of the younger teams, like Canucks or whatever, they didn't get in.
Yeah.
And I thought they were pretty good, so I thought they would have got them. Is it based off of the current year, or is it based off
Like
of...
record and like previous like years, like
Yeah.
how you've done and stuff. Because me and Danny went last year. We're gonna go again this year. I think it's mostly record and probably how many times you guys have been to
Rankings,
that
yeah.
tournament, right?
And both clubs, Mason coaches London Junior Knights U16, Elgin U16, Trevor Gallant, are both strong. You guys have had a really strong start. You guys got a really good team over there, and that team's been good for a while. What kind of style of play does Trevor put into place for you guys? Like, I asked Parker that. I said some of it's physical, but what kind of style do you guys play over there? I'm not trying to give London any tips or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, we just want to work hard. We just want to play. Like he's set up some boundaries for what we can and can't do, but he just wants us to play, have fun.
Yeah. Trevor would be like that because Trevor, I think you remember probably watching a part of his career. He was a pretty special player.
Yep.
Like, this guy was a natural, just a big hockey mind. The guy, I think he's probably in the top 3 or 4 players all time, like we mentioned last time, for OHL scoring points. But I think he's also very competitive. Come playoff time, Trevor Gallant brings the game to another level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, during regular season, from my experience, it's like, it's good. It's he works hard. He does his job. But then when the playoffs come, he pulls all these tricks out.
Yeah.
And he's kind of sneaky like that. So you guys came across
Probably a
it.
good coach to play for. Like,
Yeah.
like it's important for the players like to respond to a coach. If the players don't respond a certain way, then the overall team won't produce very well.
For sure.
So I think like you guys respond to Trevor pretty well, and same with my guys. Like I think they enjoy coming to the rink, and that's the most important thing, is wanting to come to the rink and play a game to win.
Yeah, and I would say Trevor, like from a hockey player's perspective, Trevor's a player's coach type of thing. Trevor's going to give you the freedom to kind of do what's special, unique to you, but in the same thing, he's definitely going to hold you accountable.
Yeah,
Loyalty is a big thing with Trevor. It's buying into the system, buying into the teammates, and and that's something that I think he's had success, obviously personally with Trevor, as well as with the group he's had, is because he has a special swagger to himself that can relate to a player.
He's been in the change room a few times.
100%, and he understands what's going on behind the scenes. He understands the challenges these guys are at, but Trevor has a very, very calmness about him, where he's for Austin, I would say some of Austin's character is a little bit shy, but Trevor's definitely opened the door, and he's been able to speak to Austin, and Austin's approached him, and that's something I gotta give Trevor a whole lot of credit for. Is that's not easy to do when you're coaching 17 kids and giving everybody a time to chat and stuff like that, and I think that makes Trevor special, and his coaching staff too. I mean, he's had Craig Smith for a long time, and Val and Nate, and those the camaraderie and the
just a good group of guys.
100%, and they've given, like I said, Trevor likes to give the players the opportunity to play within a system, obviously, but it still holds them really accountable. And I think in turn it instills them good habits to treat their teammates the same.
And he's, like we mentioned, he's played in Europe, he's played over here. Like, he's got a broad spectrum of abilities and skills, different type of styles that he's worked on, I'm sure, over the years. Because when you went to Europe, the game would be obviously a lot different.
Yep.
Did you have a chance at any time to go to Europe, to do anything? Anybody approach you to go play there?
Yeah, my goal was always to play professional hockey.
Regardless, that was it.
That was it. Yeah. So when I was done with Sudbury there, and I went to Western, I was expecting to play for Western for the 3 or 4 years, and then where there was a window that you could apply for. And my grandfather was born in Holland, so there was a window there where you could apply for your dual citizenship.
Yep.
And imports are always in Europe. Being an import card is sometimes, I think they have so many or whatever. Well, that's what it was back then. So I always wanted to play professional hockey, to be honest with you. I remember reading an article about Danny Servette, and one of the things, is like, everybody got an opportunity to play the game you love, then get paid to play it, and
100%.
That was always my goal. I think it's
better than that. No.
There's and I mean to travel the world with it. To be honest with you,
Danny went over there. He was in Germany for a bit, and
yep.
I know some players. Like, I worked in the KHL too. Like, he played with Semenoff we would train him in Miami in the summertime. Big dude, eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
6'5",
massive. Yeah.
6 no, maybe
He was my
more,
defense
6'6".
partner.
Great guy, and he took care of us really well down there.
Yeah.
I used to hang
Buddies
out
with
the kids and
Ponikarovsky
stuff.
and that.
Yeah.
But those guys stayed in the K, and that's another level. Like that's like probably behind the NHL. That's the second, and then there's Germany, Sweden, Finland. Those are good hockey.
And I had a lot of friends that were headed over there, so that was kind of the plan to get over to Europe.
Yeah,
and play
they
some
make pretty
hockey.
good money.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
And
It wasn't
just
about the money
experience,
per
right?
se at that time. It was more,
No,
getting to pay to play was kind of like a
100%.
a feather in your cap,
Yeah,
I think.
100%.
But it was the experience, and I had met my wife when I was actually living in Sarnia. I was actually my billet's daughter, which is a long story still. But
She told me. She told me actually. Yeah.
Good.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And you guys have been together ever since.
Yeah, so we obviously I lived there for a period of time. We got traded in at the deadline and went up to Sudbury. And when I came back, started dating. Yeah, so
Great lady.
Yeah, oh,
Lady.
yeah, she's a
I was
saint.
asking,
Saint.
and I can't remember the kilometers she was telling me that she puts on in a few
Oh,
months.
yeah.
It's great.
But she's the mastermind. I mean, she's the grunt work behind. She does everything for us.
Yeah.
I mean, and
She's health conscious. She does research on that. I know she's up to date.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've done nutrition with her before. I know she's done her own nutrition through somebody else. And then I'll hold a meeting to kind of have another nutrition session, thinking that she doesn't need to come, but she'll show up.
yeah, exactly.
She
And
cares,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Carmen was a paramedic, and she trained to be a paramedic. She was a paramedic when we first got together. We got married and stuff like that. And health's always been paramount to her, and through her family and stuff like that. But yeah, so stuff like that, she really gravitates towards it.
Yeah,
to be honest
and the
with you.
other thing too, I know, like I kind of introduced you guys to Dr. Evan. I know there's some physio, like, and getting to be a complete player, I think, regardless. And I know some people have drug plans, some people don't, to get physio and this and that. But that whole concept, I think, is so important to make sure you're eating right. If you got something that's bothering you, you got to go try to fix it. You've got imbalances. We worked on some things earlier on from last year that Dr. Evan gave you, and we kind of incorporated together. You got better at them. And those are the things that are going to you just got to keep putting 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 together. And hopefully that, when it gets to 10, you figured it out, right?
Yeah, and our relationship with food at our house is mostly driven between obviously want to be an athlete, but obviously with Crohn's.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so the meal prep and stuff like that's always been a part for a long
100%,
time.
100%.
But when you have a son that's interested or an athlete that's interested, it's easier to gravitate and kind of customize towards
For
that.
sure. And then, like, you eat well. There's some days maybe where you just kind of miss a meal here and there because it just happens. What your body feels like, it doesn't feel the same. If you're on a consistent pattern eating and you're diligent with nutrition, you're going to have way more energy. Your sleep patterns are going to be better. Your recovery, your muscle will grow faster. And I think you're starting to feel that. Mm-hmm. But if you are inconsistent with that and you go one day good, one day off, one day back, you'll feel a difference. But I tell young guys, I'm like, they don't really feel it. Because at your age, everybody's just out. I'm going to play hockey. I'm going to go to the rink. I'm going to do this and that. But if you actually give it a chance and eat properly, massive difference. Massive difference, right?
I think it's a lifelong lesson too.
100%.
Yeah.
And looks like you've been into it. I was mentioning earlier, you've been at the basement there cranking off a few weights,
he started working out, and you got to set an example, not be an example. So,
but that's where I'm kind of turning to now. Is Corey has a very successful business. Bre-X Construction in London, and what I wanted to do was kind of like touch base a little bit about, what I know your family was involved in it, but you guys, the three brothers, have brought it even to another level now. But regardless of that, what experience through hockey has helped you mold that? Because at the end of the day, we all want to be everybody wants to be an NHL player. There's no question. I wanted to be an NFL player. It's going to happen for some guys. It's not. Whether that happens, you play AHL or in Europe or whatever, that's a huge accomplishment. Even to play AAA hockey at this level now is
such a privilege.
Such a privilege, right? But when you get into a business like that, like obviously you told me you had Crohn's, you were playing at Western, you had to make a decision to kind of, okay, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my life now. What is it now that drives you every day? Because I know, man, you're up early, you go to work, you're on the ball. What drives you every day to do that?
Yeah.
How did hockey help that?
Well, I think hockey helped me with a lot of life lessons. Like you learn as trying to become a hockey player or do well in hockey, you start to establish a relationship of hard work and success. And I think that was one of the foundations of it. And I think one of the biggest component is you learn the responsibility of discipline. And that's something that I think hockey just ingrains with you at such a young age. Discipline.
Yeah.
Like for example, you got a big game the next day and the prep work and then the routines. And those are all things that start to develop as you become a hockey player, and you kind of figure out stuff about yourself and stuff like that. But I think it was the hard work and success that was always ingrained in me for a long time, and with my father and stuff. Like he's one of the hardest working guys I've ever met. But at the same token, you get to understand that success is something that can be achievable. And the discipline that comes with it. And I think the biggest component that I learned through hockey is surrounding yourself with good people. Like I had a very fortunate to have a family business that my grandfather started, my dad kept running, and then we were able to take over it with my brothers. But I mean, I always say this, that I got the best partners in the world.
That's so important.
Well, with my brothers, and it starts at home with my wife, but at the same token, I got my brother Curtis and my brother Chris. I mean, they're the smartest guys I know.
Yeah, and you can rely on them anytime.
Yeah, and I think it's how we work together. We've always been in a situation where we had opportunity. What we did with that opportunity was something that we needed to figure out.
Yeah.
And when we first got into business, and I was the first one in, like I said, I got Crohn's disease, I got in. And it was right in a transition period where my grandfather had started, my father kept going, and then I waited for my brothers to come in. So my youngest brother Curtis came in, and then Chris came in, and then it just kind of worked. To be honest with you, kind of fell into some kind of a habit, a routine.
Because it's not a small business; it's a big business.
No, and it wasn't very big when we first purchased it. Took over it in 2013. We reorganized, and it was a staple. It was a good, solid company, and everything like that. And we had visions of more. And I think that's where, if I look back at it, I talk about the opportunity is we took advantage of that. And there were some things that had to happen, and better be lucky than good. But having them, our relationship together was always steadfast. And I still remember the day, and I'll never forget this day, is, we had to go to the bank. And we had to get some money to buy everything like that. And I remember, and you had to sign on, and I had to give a personal guarantee. And I mean, I remember me and my two brothers were sitting there and we were signing on this personal guarantee. And I remember going home and, hey, honey, how was your day? I'm like, you might want to sit down for
couple
this one.
beads of sweat coming out.
And I had talked to her about it and stuff like that, but I don't think she really got the whole spectrum. And then I said, well, I kind of collateral. I had to give everything.
Wow.
She's like, what's everything?
And that's the pressure we were talking about earlier, right?
And that's 100%. And I think the decision to do that was something that we always knew we were going to have to do. Yeah. But I think the composure we had a lot of the stuff that we had learned through sports, through athleticism, and big games, OT, being the bigger guy, the big leadership responsibility,
being down 3 goals and having to
stuff
come
like
back.
that. Yeah, and I remember her telling her, like, we kind of put everything up for grabs. If we don't, this thing doesn't
She's
go.
Looking at you like,
if it doesn't go, we lose it all. It's like, like the truck. No, the house, the whole thing.
But that's the gamble you got to take, and it's the same thing. We talk about the young athletes like this. You want to be a player or successful in something, you got to gamble other things to be great, right? You got to go, okay, tonight I'm not going to go out with my buddies. Because some guys, they like going out and they'll lose a little focus. You got to get your sleep. You got to be up in the morning at this time, and you're a routine-based guy, I'm sure. You have to have those things in place to be a player too. And that's what I think that you can teach him, being that business guy.
100%.
From that aspect.
Yeah.
But I'm sure when you first got into it, so you're an educated guy, you went to university. Was it still tough, like the dynamics of learning all of these little things? Because I want to know exactly what you guys do. I know you guys put pipes in the floors in the streets.
Yeah.
Is it excavating? Is it?
Yeah. So we're a heavy civil contractor, but we're also a general contractor. So we would take on. So like for example, right now we're doing the BRT program in London. So we would bid on a contract that would be anywhere from, $5 million to $40 million. We're in that range, and then we would do a couple contracts that size, and then we do the sewer work. So we put the pipe in the ground, the sanitary, the water, the storm, and then we would build the road up to a certain amount of extent, like gravel, A gravel, B gravel, and then
they come and take it
and
over.
We would take it over. We have to just do from start to finish. So we're contracted to start and finish, but we would hire subcontractors to do curbs and asphalt and sidewalks and stuff like that. And again, the BRT, there's a lot of specialty stuff. There's concrete. There's all kinds of stuff that kind of adds flavor to the finished product. But I always joke, like, you can drive down Oxford Street, who's a big staple for us, and there's not a thing you see that we did. We don't do the sod. We don't do the curve.
No, you don't do. Okay.
But when you flush your toilet, we make sure it goes in the right spot. Okay. But
has he come out ever to the shop?
Yep, Austin's worked in the shop and stuff like that. And I've tried to make Bre-X a huge part of my life, but not necessarily his at this
absolutely,
stage.
100%.
And I've encouraged him to kind of, chase his own dreams and stuff like that. Whereas we were a little more encouraged with my father. We had never played hockey, never knew the opportunities that were necessarily available.
A little bit different back then.
Yeah, when I was 12 years old, I remember going to the tree and there was this box. It was a great size Spiro. And I remember shaking. I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And I remember opening it and it was a pair of work boots.
Yes.
And the first thing out of his mouth was, I don't want to see those things clean by the end of next summer. So that type of stuff was great to learn at a young age. But when it came to business, it was, and I got to give a huge testament to the people we have working at Bre-X. We have an incredible staff, and I would say some of the stuff that we relate with hockey, we relate to business. So we have crews, we have foremen, we have a site super, basically would be the coach, basically. We have, lines per se and crews and stuff like that, and we organize them much similar to we would a hockey line.
Hockey, the same thing.
Yeah, and you need different. You need a guy that can dig, a guy that can backfill. You need a guy that can think, a guy that can lay pipe, and we kind of organize.
You're still on the first line too, though.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm more of the GM for our owner type of stage, but those types of. How would I say this? Like I always say at Bre-X, I would never get you to do something I haven't done or I'm not willing to do, and I think that keeps us in the family business aspect of it. And I think that I think that respect thing, but I think the character that we have is, if we're willing to do it, then you've got to be, and vice versa. And I think that's been a huge testament to keeping the quality that we have at Bre-X.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think that comes from, it's not just me. I mean, I'm operations. My brother does the project management. And my other brother does finance and the estimating. And so we kind of take a piece of the pie. We don't usually try and dabble too much. We did at the beginning, but now it's more, hey, you do your department, we'll do mine. And then we work together, to be honest with you.
It's easier that way for sure.
It's just, how about this? We're able to work together that way.
100%.
Yeah.
And Austin, if you were playing, let's say you didn't play in the NHL, is that something you'd want to get into, or you have your own aspirations of doing something different?
No, I think that would be the goal.
You'd be into that, eh?
I mean, I enjoy it. It's not like it'd feel like work. I think it'd be fun.
It's the same thing with Mace. It's like, he was all hockey. Mace, we grew him up and raised him to be. Just because I was around all those players all the time, training pros and that's what I
only had one thing on my brain all
right?
the time.
So, but now he's got this on his brain, and he's got you got to go.
It was really, really, really hard for me though to move from hockey to something else. Just thinking, and I was gonna ask you about that, just relationships with people. You lose relationships. You're not a hockey player anymore. I always thought in my head now people aren't going to see me for what I was. I was super good, so I was always I was getting attention, and then it got to the point where I was like, no, I'm just a person like everyone else on this earth.
Yeah.
So it's what did it feel like for you, when you stopped playing, and then were you ever oh.
Yeah, did you feel
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I always had a backfall, so I always had Bre-X. I worked there in the summer, and I had built up some skills and stuff like that. Mine was a little bit different. When I got Crohn's and I couldn't play the game, I was more or less angry, to be honest with you. I never got to fulfill. I never got a chance to say I don't want to play anymore. The game, my body said I couldn't.
Right.
So when I went to work, I was more determined than anything. I had a relationship with hockey where it was I didn't get what I wanted out of hockey, and when I went to business, it was well, this is I'm going to do this. If I'm going to do this, this is going to be everything. And I was very, very hungry.
And you did that. I mean, to get to that level where you guys are at now, you have to do that every day.
Yeah, you have to.
You do.
Yeah, like you said, you got to be. Sometimes you got to be. What is it? Better to have good luck than be good. But at the same token, we worked and worked and worked, and that discipline of coming in the morning. Like we did jobs everywhere. We did jobs in Kleinburg and Keswick. So I would get up at 2 a.m. in the morning and leave these guys
That's
and
crazy.
go out because I got to. I'd have to be at the
Kleinburg
and
Yeah,
Keswick.
yeah.
So we did jobs there. We did jobs in Leamington, Sarnia, Grimsby, Hamilton area. So when things get slow around here, sometimes you got to travel with construction. So we had employees that would actually leave their homes and stuff like that. So we did the same thing, and I would travel for 13, 16 hours, come back home, sub them. Go to bed, and those are all war stories now. But at the end, when you're doing it, it means a lot.
But it's about the war, man.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the struggle is real, obviously. But I think that's where how you say this. The pinnacle at the top is only the tip of the iceberg. The struggle is what you really
100%,
enjoy, and the process. And
we have a lot of respect for your dad. Like I don't know him that well. We now have a bit of a relationship, but. I see where he's wanting to kind of take this, right? You do your thing. That's because that's what you love. Mm-hmm. And, put everything you got in. That's all he, would expect as a dad. But regardless of whatever happens, he's there for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the key, man. It's like a brotherhood, whether it's son, best buddies or son and father. I think that's the key in the end, right? And I think you respect that too, right?
You only got one life. You got lots of...
you got lots of time.
You got lots of time to figure out.
It's crazy how much pressure they put on, young guys to be drafted so young. Yeah. I mean, you went through it and I'm like going... hockey is like it's like you have to be there at 16, 17. You don't have to be there at 16, 17, and you know that. You might get drafted and go, you didn't play year one, didn't play year two, but then all of a sudden the guy gets in the league the third year, plays really well. The fourth year, all of a sudden he's a stud, and he ends up making it. There's so many things that could happen, but it's like the pressure for a young hockey guy in Canada is like OHL right away.
Yeah.
You're a smart guy in school, I know you are. I think OHL would definitely be your first avenue, but you definitely wouldn't close the door on a U.S. scholarship. No. And have they already I know you're over it, and that was good that you're over in the States because they got to see you. They already approaching guys at a younger age, like kind of going, hey, this is where we're at, this is the university we're interested, or is that a little bit later?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit later, to be honest with you. I think one of the experience that when Austin chose to go to BK was he was able to go away from. I think a lot of times when you get drafted, so you talk about not playing year one, year two, and those struggles, and sometimes just moving away out of your comfort zone is a big challenge. And one of the things I encouraged Austin to do when he went to BK is you've gone outside. You're outside home. My mom's not there. Dog's not there. And, you're going to go there and you're going to learn a hell of a lot about yourself. And that could be challenging for a young man. And one of the things that I'm very proud with Austin is he went there and he didn't just go there and, kick the tires and poke the baker. He actually excelled and he did extremely well. And he brought his game to a better level.
Yes.
And I think that's a testament to the foundation he had from being at Elgin for so many years and playing with amazing players and parents and that. So it takes a community to shape
100%.
And but that was one thing is he's taken the opportunity to spread his wings and he did well, and that's something that he's going to be able to carry forward for the next step. Whatever his life takes him or wherever it goes. But I would say one of the things from being in the OHL and moving away from home, and I was close, I'm only 45 minutes from home, but I had friends that went to Ottawa and Sioux and stuff like that, and that it's always fun and everything like that. And then when you get in there and it turns into a little bit of a grind, you're struggling to get in the lineup a little bit, or you're in the lineup but you want more, stuff like that. Those things all come full circle.
100%. Did you run across that when you were in Sarnia? Did you have a battle where you're like stretch of games weren't playing that good, and then all of a sudden you get bumped down a bit?
Oh yeah.
Persevere and come back.
Yeah, and it starts in practice. We had practices where it was intense. Like I had never had a practice. I came through Strathroy where there's more of a FIA system, so it was more skills, and our practice was the same all the time. When I got to Sarnia, it was full on. And guys, you never know the level of compete until you get in an environment like that. And when I got to Sarnia and the environment that Hunter had was compete. We used to battle. We used to. I told Austin this one time. We'd have once a week. We'd have a fight, like a full-on fight, And well, why would you do that? Well, we wanted to win. Like we
in
wanted to
practice,
win.
high intensity,
Oh, we wanted to
hitting
win
everything.
so bad, and it came down to anything. If we were doing penalty kill or power play or 2-on-1s, we had to win.
Yeah.
And that drives you obviously to compete and stuff like that. But that competitiveness, and I would say when you're in that, and then you're trying to get in the lineup, and then guys are and your trades in the OHL, right? So a guy would come in, and all of a sudden the guy in my first year, a guy that was with my bunkmate or my stallmate, he's gone. I just established a relationship with him, and he's gone. And I think that plays in it's more of a mental side of it and stuff like that. But you learn to get a lot tougher between the years.
You got to be a tough guy to be and I call that pro. I know you guys weren't making a big paycheck.
$49 a week.
$49 a week, and I don't even know do you know what they make? It's probably
No idea.
$100 a week, maybe less than that. Still, it's not about the money there.
I think it's.
But it's still pro.
$495.
Yeah, I consider it is. I mean, it'd be like NHL, AHL. I know you got East Coast now, but you guys are less than 1% to play that.
I know.
Right?
It's a tremendous privilege to play in the Ontario Hockey League.
100%.
Yeah.
Who were the owners in Sarnia when you were there?
The Cicerelli Group.
So the Cicerellis-
Sean Burr, I believe, was a silent or a minority owner at the time. He ended up passing away with cancer, but it was Rob, Dino. Who was the other one?
And now-
Larry Cicerelli. Now I believe it's the Hatcher
So they're still
and
there,
Leg
the Hatchers are still
Hatcher
there.
and Leg one, I believe. Yeah.
Has he met any of these guys? You ever been to a golf tournament, Sarnia State Golf?
We went to the Sarnia State Golf Tournament this year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we got to meet some of the guys I used to play with, and some of the old stories come back. And there's a few people that are still left in the organization, but it's different. Obviously, the OHL's come,
big time.
like leaps and bounds and stuff
the
like that. And then
organizational worth of
just hockey alone, I think, has gone that far. But no,
I
it's
had one question I didn't want to ask you guys, and I'm gonna read. I don't read that much off of paper, but I'm gonna. This is the one I wanted to ask. Both you share a background in hockey. How has the sport influenced your relationship as a father and son?
You want to go first or me?
I mean, it definitely brings, he's more, I feel more active in my life now, too. It's not like, hey, how's your school day? It's also that we get to play hockey together. We share something. We can go on the ice together if we
can
want.
relate to things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of same with me and Mace. Is like we're in the gym. I've been training him since he's been a little boy. And he's, evolved. He's learned things that I've taught him, and he's now just got his certifications and stuff. And
I'm actually a gym rat.
He's a gym. He loves being in the gym.
I'm born
He
in
is
the gym.
for sure. And he loves that. And I think that we go in there and we just the same as you guys. We're there to try to make you guys better.
Well, it doesn't feel like work when we're there.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun, right?
Not fun screwing around, but if it's just like the environment itself.
Yeah. And I'm sure even with your job and your business today, you still got to have some fun to.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Work hard, play hard, absolutely.
Exactly,
and I think that makes it enjoyable, to be honest with you.
For
One of
sure.
the things, if anybody was going to get into business or something like that, is definitely something you're going to work hard at. You got to enjoy.
100%.
And I still see the positives in everything we do, to be honest with you. But the enjoyment and working with good people and stuff like that, I think makes it, like Mason said, it doesn't feel like a job every day.
And it's like, when Austin comes in, he does some privates here and there, and then, I'll watch him, he'll be on the bike, and I can see that fun in you. He was trying to pull wheelies with my spin bikes.
Yeah.
Austin, that won't go anywhere. That's going to be right back down. But he's just so pumped up to do it. And when we see guys having fun like that, that's what drives us, right? We are like, that's awesome, man. Because there's nothing worse than going into, let's say, a session, and a couple guys aren't engaged, and we're kind of lucky we don't have a lot of that. Mm-hmm. But that shows us that, you're serious, and that's what makes it fun for us. But you know what, guys? Listen, that was an amazing experience today. I wish you the best of luck. This is a great opportunity for you this year. Corey, man, I know you're a busy guy, so we appreciate that you took the time out of your day.
Thank you very much.
You're probably going to have, listen to this one, 18,000 messages on his, what was that? That was emails not opened or maybe opened and just accumulated over the years, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot, so we know you're a busy guy, so lots of respect here from us guys, and we'll be watching you during the season, Austin, and wish you the best of luck.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us.
No
Appreciate
problem,
it,
guys.
Mason
No
Spiro.
problem.
Thank you very much.